This is Radically Alive Women's Agecast. Okay, hello and welcome to Radically Alive Women. Nicola Hearn. Good to see you here.
Thank you. Good to be here.
I came across you recently in your Instagram channel through a friend who forwarded a video, and that inspired me to get in touch with you, where you said something to the effect of, I have a sweet face, but really I'm also fierce in my own diluted words. and I love that. And you speak about societal change a lot. And I reached out because I want to hear what you have to say. I want to hear more from you. You have been an activist. You have created a social enterprise called Third Space Canteen.
Mm-hmm.
And you started this Instagram channel and it just took off really quickly, it seems.
Yeah, it was a surprise to me.
You had a sweet spot. And I get it. You're speaking so authentically and honestly to the camera that I'm curious to hear more of you. And I'd like to start this conversation with a question of who are you right now? Can you say something about who you are now?
Oh, wow. Who am I right now? I'm just someone finding their way. And I think that's what I'm trying to share most of all on the Instagram, is this idea that, none of us have to be experts. None of us have to be perfect. We just need to work together and have respect for each other and move in the same direction, right? And hopefully that would be one of peace and just putting kind of a love for other people, love, I suppose, at the heart of things, instead of this incessant need for growth and profit, which seems to drive all of human creativity at the moment. Yeah, to the detriment, I think, of our children and our children's future. So, yeah, just finding my way, just trying to escape the way of being that we've all been led to believe is the way to be, which is, strive to have a job, have a career, and apparently that is contributing to society. And I find more and more that is not contributing to society. It's actually making it worse. So, yeah.
Yeah, I love how you speak so clearly about capitalism and patriarchy and how societal change is necessary. Can you say more about your pain? What is your pain about what you just said, that the way we've learned to walk in the world and to operate is really like an operating, like a functioning machine, is not actually contributing to our children, to us human, like also to our human beingness. What is your pain? What is your pain point?
I feel like all the advice that I've ever been given about having a career and how to survive in the world, I suppose, is to, find a job and get paid, etc. But in that world of work, you kind of have to put aside the things about you, like you're, in a way, a female nature. That's how I felt. And all the advice is about you've got to promote yourself all the time and kind of be more direct, be more dominant. No one would ever say that, but I have had people say to me, you're not aggressive enough, for example, or they see it as a lack of confidence, right? If you're not constantly talking about yourself all the time. And I just really struggled with that, because getting to the age that I am now, I think, well, hang on a second, because I think the way women are is really useful. like I come at it from a point of the team is not there to be dominated and told what to do. The team is there to work collaboratively together. And I just feel like there's a lot of people in their 40s around my age where we just feel like, oh my gosh, I've just been lied to my whole life about what life is all about, especially once you have a child. And that was my turning point, really, just opened my eyes to, we're getting life really, really wrong. Really wrong. It's just so hard to live the life you want as well if you don't have money to make choices, I think. So that's a big part of it as well.
Yeah, I think that is a very important part, that capitalist society works in a certain way, and it's a rat race, hierarchical rat race. And if you're not chasing to the top, you just fall off the money loop, and then it's great to live a different life, but it can be, it's quite a hard journey. Yeah.
Very hard. And I think that's a problem right now, because not only do so many people want to leave that race just for their own personal well-being, but it also seems essential that we do that because like nearly all problems to do with poverty and obviously the destruction of the environment is down to the greed that capitalism breeds. People believing that they have to strive for more is creating that problem. Yeah.
Would you share what sort of normal life you came from? What kind of normal career you came from?
Normal life. I feel like I never had a normal life because it didn't work out very well. Well, I sort of did.
Where did you try to fit in?
I think that's been my problem, not being able to fit in very well. And a big part of that, which I didn't really realize for a very long time, is just, I think, actually coming from quite a low income background and then somehow getting the golden ticket to go to like one of the best universities in the country. And in Britain, we are very hierarchical. So I struggled with that. And then when I went out into the world of work, I just didn't realize how much that impacts you. My career was basically taking the first job that came up out of desperation, really, and just feeling like I didn't have very many choices. And I ended up actually working in sort of techie roles because I was good at that. But I just didn't realize the sexism that comes along with that. And I think that really, really, really impacted me. And I've come to realize that there is a lot of misogyny. And I would say misogyny is not men outrightly disliking women, right? It's not men that hate women. Nobody would consciously think that. It's rather people who, I guess, are quite insecure. And when somebody comes along and challenges their view of how a woman should be, or the fact that they believe they should be more intelligent than them, then they react, and it can feel quite aggressive and harmful for women without anyone really consciously understanding what's going on. And it's taken me a really long time to unravel that, like all the experiences that I've had to come to that conclusion, right? That is something I'm trying to get people to understand.
Mm. And I can so relate. I used to do a similar thing. I studied law because that seemed a good choice for career, and went and worked in law. And I just it wasn't the right thing. And part of me loved, using my intellect, but also felt really constrained in that arena. And somehow at one point I realized the whole system is built in a certain way, and women don't fit in from the start in a way, because they, as girls, were told, don't ask for what you want, it's impolite, or don't be so bossy, or whatever, be shy, be quiet, be nice. And then we're in this work environment, and it's people turn around and say, well, if you can't negotiate better, it's your problem, something's wrong with you again, and I think what you're talking about, misogyny, is it's like I get this image of, it's like a drip, a constant drip that hollows the stone. It's like constantly drip feeding. And so I think the key, and you spoke to that before, is that actually, like, patriarchy is in me because I've taken it on, right? I've taken on those, and we as women have taken them on, and they live in us now, so to speak. And the real work is to help ourselves here so that we can show up differently in the world, and actually even see, hey, this is not healthy. Hey, this doesn't work. It needs to go differently. And it seems like that's been part of your journey, not just to realize somehow I don't fit in, but saying like, and there's nothing wrong with that. It's actually not a problem. It is my gift to not fit in because we need something different. Can you say more about
Yeah.
how was that for you?
I mean, in a way, it's not been my choice. So it's really interesting what you say as well about that, the patriarchy sort of being internalized. Like, that's definitely true. And it's a really good point that I try to make in the things that I share, is that women can be as misogynistic as men, or even more so sometimes. And the patriarchy thing is not really a man-woman thing. It's the characteristics that tend to be associated with men. I feel like for me, though, it hasn't necessarily been a choice. I just felt like I've had to leave various workplaces just from getting so stressed and not realizing why that was or where it came from. Because what we tend to do is we see the problem as the person who's getting anxious or stressed or whatever it is, when really it's the environment that is the problem. Because under capitalism, you're essentially competing with other people for resources. You have to think about yourself, right? There's not really another option. Like, no one's going to come and help you, really, or people don't have the capacity to, because everyone's so busy working and trying to fend for themselves. But I think it's created a need for people to center themselves at all times. And when it comes to power dynamics, that can create some really unhealthy situations. Like, we've ended up with parents who center their own needs above the needs of their children. We have husbands who center their own individual needs above the needs of their family. We have managers who center their own needs above the needs of the team. And it can just be quite stressful trying to manage those things. And I think so, centering oneself and also being quite fragile, actually, especially in British culture. So then anyone that challenges the status quo is seen as the problem. I think that's the issue. Does that make sense?
It makes sense to me. And what I'd like to add is that it's centering the survival needs, because I think we have also these needs of thriving, and these need to be in the center. Like, my necessity to thrive is always in connection, but it needs me to be centered in myself, not my ego in the center, but my being needs to be fully here, awake, alive, so that I can actually create and bring my wisdom, and then we can dance together, then we can play together, and then the wisdom can inform each other.
Yes, and that's a
Yes.
healthy way. But I think what's happened is there's an unhealthy way, which is that people are centering their egos, right, over and above the other person. And I think how that's always shown up for me is if I try to tell somebody that I'd like them to maybe not talk to me in the way that they have, or some disrespectful way, or whatever, they have always taken it as me attacking them. So trying to just criticize instead of, no, there's a problem that we need to resolve. And I think it's so difficult because once you see that it's happening, it's sort of happening everywhere in nearly every relationship. And it's just really quite difficult to like pull yourself out of that. You know, in my video that you saw on Instagram, like I said, I've been quite isolated, and that's the reason why. Because if I dare to challenge anything, like most people can't deal with it. And part of that isolation that I've chosen for myself because I've not wanted to keep on having the same conversations.
There's something to that where I think, as you say, the environment determines also what's possible. And maybe you can say a bit more to what your take is on that, about coming together, especially as women, so that we walk next to each other. It's like a crazy chicks, like, yes, you're crazy, but in a good way, or you're not insane, you're sanely insane. Like, trying to be sane in an insane society is really unhealthy. And so being insane in that way is a healthy way of being, and we need each other to walk beside each other and say, okay, yeah, I see you, and go, and or come together and share. I think this is so necessary, to find each other and walk beside each other.
Is very necessary, but I think a lot of us just don't know how to do that. Like, I just think we've lost the ability to properly collaborate just because of how we've been taught to behave, which is this idea that we're individuals and we should just be able to be alone and succeed on our own. And I just don't think that works. It just definitely doesn't work for me, right? 100% does not work. And I've started my Instagram thing because I just wanted to reach people and connect with people and find people like, do you have the same values as me? How can we make this work? Because there's courses out there for change makers, right? There are networks out there for change makers. There's a lot of places where you can go to apparently get this wisdom, right? But what I've found in those places is I get the same kind of social structures, and it's again people expecting me to do something alone, and I'm like, I don't want to do it alone. I want to start with a team with values, and I don't really care what the project is as long as we share the same outcome and the same values, right? And I think that's just a really different way of working. Yeah But I'm finding people. I am.
Have you found a project yet? Like, have you started, I mean, apart from the Instagram channel project?
Well, kind of. We'll see. Yeah. I see myself rather as someone who hopefully can inspire other people to start their projects, right? I was talking to someone the other day about this. One of my biggest frustrations, and this was the case when I had my canteen as well, is that quite often people will say to me, oh, you're so inspiring. And I'm like, but I'm not doing it to inspire, like to be just so you can say I'm inspiring, right? If someone's inspiring, that means you behave like them. Like, you start doing this stuff. And I could not get people to really take that step and like actually change their behavior. And it's just such a huge frustration. Like, the person I was speaking to said she has the same thing. And it's just this huge frustration that, like, yeah, behavior change is so hard, right? It's so difficult. I've got fewer resources than most people I know to be able to do something, to do a project or affect any change. And yet here I am doing it. And the people with the resources are just standing back and going, oh, you're so inspiring, so inspiring. I'm like, no, but we need you to actually come and do something. Yeah. So I hope that makes sense, but that's such a big frustration for me, because I'm like, but you telling me you're inspiring achieves nothing. Or hearing that I'm inspiring achieves nothing. That's not the goal. That's not the outcome. And in fact, I think we have a really big problem with the way we put people on pedestals, because then we say, well, I can't do that. I'm not as good. I can't do it. You can. Like, you really can. And you have to.
Yeah, I was going to add that, and you have to.
Soon you'll have to, I think.
Yeah, this came up when I heard you speak, as Claire Dubois said from treesisters.org. She said something that really stuck with me. She said something like, don't blow wind under my wings, be a feather on the bird, be part of the change, do your part of it. And it's not that we're not here to all do the same, but each of us can do our own part, right? And I might be enthusiastic about one thing. Having these conversations is one thing, and you're enthusiastic about inspiring through your videos, and that's your thing, and bringing calling people together. And if everybody does, I'm convinced that if each one of us does what they truly love, like from the inside out, everything is handled. There's so much variety, diversity.
Yeah, and I feel like that is a really big difference for me. I naturally want everyone in my team to be better than me at whatever they do, right? Because what's the point in me being the best? It's completely pointless. I'm not an expert kind of person. And when I get that team, like, I want them to be, the best. And I think that's probably a good attitude for us all to have. And another thing, I have a really good example actually of like this collaboration thing, because some years ago, I was going to some environmental or activist meetings, and I was chatting to someone. I said, but my frustration is, as a mum with a young child, we are the people like most concerned because it's for our kids' future, right? But I feel completely sidelined from any meetings or being able to get involved because I have a child at home. I can't come to those meetings in the evenings. I can't actually get to them, right? And alongside that, she was saying that, oh yeah, I come to these, but I don't really feel like I'm an activist, and I can't really be that person to speak up and all this stuff. And it turns out she was a nanny. And I was like, well, I need a babysitter, right? Like, that could be your contribution here. And we were actually going to do that, but then I don't know, I think I got a job. But that's like this spirit or the energy that people need to have, right? It's not about all of us trying to be the leader, but just recognizing your place on the team. And that was the same thing when I had my canteen. I always think back that, okay, I was like the person running the show and I had the vision and everything. But on the night when we put on a supper club, I was the sous chef, right? My chef was in charge. And I think it's just understanding your place on the team and in different situations and what your contribution is so important. But unfortunately, we culturally have been led to believe that you only have achieved if you are like the best at something, right? Yeah, it's going to take a lot of work to change people's mindset into being more collective or collaborative, I think.
Yeah, maybe. And I can easily buy into that, and I'm with you. I don't want to make it look more beautiful than it is, but I also start to believe that change can be really quick when the motivation is there, which we've seen with COVID and lockdowns, where all of a sudden it was possible to stop all flights, right? It's like, it can be really quick when the motivation is there, when we're all saying, okay, it's time. And I'm starting to tell myself the story and like to relax into this knowing that the feminine is here. Like, I can see it everywhere. I can see it as I travel the world. I see how women are standing up and how women are speaking out. And you're one of them. I'm glad you do. I'm one of them. I'm glad I do. And it's unstoppable. We're an unstoppable force of nature. And so it could also go really quick. Yeah.
I think so. I sort of feel like people have always said to me, you're ahead of your time. And I don't think I'm ahead of my time. I think I'm the oldest in my generation. I'm 42. I'm a very old millennial. And my hope is that, oh my gosh, surely there's a generation of women just behind me who are about to stand up and say their piece, right? And that is my hope. And I feel it coming. Sometimes I do. Some days I'm like, oh my God, it's never going to change. But most of the time I feel quite hopeful. I feel like for people who say things will never change, I'm a bit like, I think you're just ignoring women because you're so used to ignoring and dismissing everything we say. You can't even see that we're here. And maybe that time is coming. I don't really think of myself as a Christian anymore, but I used to be very involved in the church. And there's this passage in the Bible that says, the meek shall inherit the earth. And years ago, somebody just made a passing comment to me that, oh, that's been interpreted as being women. And now all these years later, I'm like, I can totally see how that was interpreted like that. Because for me, like, I'm someone, I never hardly ever shared my opinion. I never say anything. I'm so quiet at work. I'm just like really quiet until this summer. And then I was like, I have had enough.
Right. And see how quick that went.
But it was a combination of, yes, I've had enough, but also just feeling like I don't think people realize how like cruel our society is to us, right? I felt like I've got nowhere to go. So having left my job, because essentially experiencing the same kind of quite authoritarian style of leadership and quite a blamey culture as well, which I feel like has happened in a lot of workplaces that I've been in, and that becoming quite stressful. So I left, and it felt like I can't go back into that kind of workplace. Like I just can't see myself doing it again. It's too much. And alongside raising a child as well. And then also feeling like, well, now AI is here and I work in tech. It just feels like, what is the point? Like, I don't know how. I cannot sit there for 6 months applying for thousands of jobs. And like, I just don't have it in me to do that. I didn't know what to do. And then I was like, but if I get a different kind of job, there's like almost no chance that I would ever be able to afford a mortgage on my own where I live. I'll probably have to move. I did not know where to go, and I don't have family that I can rely on. And then everyone was saying to me, because when you have a difficult time, everyone will go to therapy. Have you tried therapy? And I was just like, I can't. It's not a therapy problem, right? It's a circumstances problem. And right before I made that video, I'd been having a lot of ear infections. So like really bad ones, such that my face swelled up the year before and I nearly was hospitalized. And so I've been having lots of checkups at the hospital, and this was my last one. And I was saying to the nurse, the problem that I've got is basically eczema, right? And it irritates the ear and causes all kind of problems. But I said to the nurse, but the problem is that is quite likely caused by stress, because I'm so stressed with my job and everything. And like, it's costing the NHS quite a lot of money. Like, and it just seems so ridiculous because I don't have anywhere to go. Like, I can't get rid of the stress because it's a job thing, a family thing, a child thing, an ex-husband thing. And I'm sort of like, what do you want to do with people like me? What do you want to do? Because if you don't want to hire us, you don't want to marry us, you don't want to create a society where we can feel safe and survive, like what do you want to do? Because if I go into social housing, there's not enough social housing anyway. I don't want to be a burden, but I'm becoming a burden because I'm just being pushed out. Do you know what I mean? And I was saying to her, like, I just don't know what to do. I don't know. Like, I've tried everything. I don't know what to do. And she just looked at me and she said, she put aside all her professionalism and she was just like, I completely hear you and I get exactly where you're coming from, and I think you should speak about this. And I literally went home 2 hours later, I made that video and it went viral. And I was like, you can't never underestimate the power of a quiet conversation. Like, for me, doing that it's not really a choice, if you know what I mean. Like, my choice, I'd have a nice little job. Yeah. Like, just a simple life, you know. But yeah, I feel like it's come about through really difficult circumstances, really.
Yeah, it seems like this is where these struggles or these problems become like fuel for change. No, we can go on antidepressants and we can numb ourselves down, or we can whatever. I don't know. There's a lot of ways to just give up. And what I hear is you were pissed off. I'm like, okay, I'm angry enough that I'll just speak to this now. Or in my terminology, anger is a force. We can use it unconsciously and we can use it consciously. And consciously, it is for change. Yeah. So that you took this and it's like, yeah, I'm not just a nice, sweet girl. I am a kind person, and I also can slay dragon, in my own words. And I think this is necessary. Yeah.
Wow. I think it's necessary because, you know, my whole life I've just had people telling me not to be angry. And actually, there's a lot that we should all be angry about. I strongly identify with Greta Thunberg, right? And I think a lot of us do. But here's what's interesting. I have the same anger, the exact same anger. But I've spent these 20 years learning how to manage it, right? And when I speak calmly, I want to say, well, this is what rage looks like. You know, it's not, you might not see it, but like, yeah, this is what rage looks like, when you really have to find a way, by whatever means, to get your point across. You'll figure out how to do it. And I think it's taken me a long time to not feel like completely angry, or to feel completely desolate and be overcome with emotion and crying. It's taken me a long time to do that. But that's so much more powerful, I think. I feel like we're living in a culture where people have lost the ability to care. And particularly, I don't like to generalize, but particularly a lot of men, I think it's just come from them pushing down all of their emotions because they've been told you have to be, the strength is not having emotions. And I figured out that you cannot get people to care by being angry or being upset. Just no change will happen. It won't happen. So what I'm trying to do now is just talk about it in very like cold, hard, in a way of economics, right? Because actually, if you don't have a caring society, it's economically damaging. My own stress and being a burden on the NHS is one small example, but just think about the thousands of people who are dealing with have similar conditions that are ultimately caused by stress and not feeling altogether safe. Because I think that's where stress comes from.
And it seems like it's so artificial, because I get this I get the sense that the way we work, it's been invented in the Industrial Revolution, and we're way past that. Every new invention is supposed to make life easier, and then it gets more stressful. Like with AI and with all the technology, we could just really do what we love, and everybody gets some money. I don't know how it goes, but like everybody gets a certain amount of money, their basics are cared for, and then they do what they love, and we beautify the earth, yeah, and the rest is taken care of. So that's one of my fantasies or
Yes.
my visions. Call it what you will. Like, what is yours? What do you envision when you say, okay, let's create a more beautiful world together? How would you paint that picture?
Something similar. Yeah. Like one where we focus on looking after people instead of on trying to be better than people or trying to get more stuff than people. And I liken that to like how we raise our kids. Hopefully you wouldn't have children and then get them to compete with each other for your affection or for your money or whatever they need. You wouldn't. You give them what they need first, and hopefully you give them more than what they need, and then they thrive. And it's crazy to me that people think that humans are different than that. That humans, once they grow up, are completely different than that. We're not. We're the same. We respond to the same drivers, and I think we have enough, don't we? We have enough in the world to make sure everyone's housed, has enough food, has enough good food, has enough clothes, whatever. We have enough. So, yeah, it just seems crazy to me sometimes the way we live. But I get a lot of people telling me I'm the crazy one.
I suggest you take it as a compliment. I don't know whether you already do.
Yeah, I do. See, these days I do. But yeah, I like to your point as well, like having worked in tech, I just think I used to constantly look around and I'd be like, we've got all this technology. We should be using that to live better. But instead, we're all working longer and longer hours than ever before.
Crazy,
right?
yeah.
It makes no sense. And it also gives me absolutely no confidence that we will use future technologies in a good way.
Yeah, we're getting towards the end. I could keep talking with you, I think, for a long time. But yeah, thank you for showing up and making yourself visible and for going, okay, it's time to speak up. Now, I'd like to include something very practical for people that listen. Do you have something, maybe from your own experience, you would say, okay, if you want to come closer to speaking your own truth, what could a woman try out?
I'm going to say two. The first one sounds really weird and unrelated, but I'd say lift some weights. because a strong body makes a strong mind. Yeah, get in the habit of doing some kind of strength training and moving your body more often. It really does help. And second of all, I would say learn something new. It doesn't matter what it is, but learn something new and stick at it for a few months. And something that you think that you maybe can't do, because I think for me, like, learning to be brave is all about stretching what you think you're capable of and having a sort of growth mindset. Because I made a claim that I'm going to start a movement and like work with Gary Stevenson. That, like, first of all, because I don't mind if it doesn't happen, right? Okay, I'll look a bit stupid, but it's not the end of the world. But second of all, like, we always think things are impossible until they happen. And I think for me, I've had quite a lot of experiences in my life where people have told me, maybe not directly, but maybe indirectly or passively, that they don't think I'd be able to do the thing that I've done. And then I've gone on and done it. So I think however small those challenges are, like, give yourself some challenges. And if you can do a small challenge, next time you'll believe that you can do something bigger. And next time, bigger, right? So lift some weights and learn something
Great.
new.
Thank you so much, Nicola.